They came to him and said, Lord, teach us to pray. Why? Because when Jesus prayed, dead people got out of their graves and started walking. Because the lame walked, the blind could see, demons trembled in the presence of the carpenter. He had a power that they recognized. Prayer has the power to cure sickness and to heal every disease. Prayer can shatter the shackles of misery and habit that enslave you and you and you and those of you who are watching and the people who are in your family or our nation. It can break the shackles in Washington, D.C. Church of Jesus Christ in America and around the world, stop whining about the attacks on our life by the prince of darkness. Attack him, bind him, crush him, put your foot on the head of the devil. No weapon formed against us shall ever prosper. Give the Lord praise in the house. If we give more of ourselves to God, God will give more of ourselves to us. Consecration is total. It's absolute. Write it down. Habakkuk 2:2. Write the vision down and make it plain. Say that with me. Write the vision down and make it plain. What do you want to accomplish with your life? What do you want for your family in the future? What do you want for your business? What do you want for your ministry? Write it down in this prayer diary. Write it down and write the date you write it down. And then when God answers prayer, come back and say, answered on this day. It may be years before it happens, but it will remind you that God answers prayer.
And I had lost my faith, man. I thought God wasn't listening. He was listening. I just wasn't asking for nothing. If you come to him, he always hears you. He's always available. He ain't ever too busy. That's the cool thing about him. And he was available for me the whole time. It's just I wasn't checking in with him. God ain't turned his back on you. You walked away from him. He always there. I got stupid. I just turned away from him. When I turned around and started talking to him, I just cut a deal with him. I said, if you let me make it, when I get there, I'm going to tell everybody it was you.
Let me tell you that Don and I attended a Bible conference at Oral Roberts University in the early 1990s. We heard Dr. Cho, a celebrated pastor in South Korea. He has a church with a membership of 480,000. He has a Sunday church attendance of 200,000. And he challenged those who were there to write the vision down that you want God to accomplish in your lives and your vision for the future, and God will give it to you. Brother, I took that up. I was sitting right on the front row. I took my Bible and my pen. Don and I sat there and we wrote this down before we ever left that assembly, everything that's on this paper. At that point in time, it seemed like absolutely impossible, will never happen. But I'm here to tell you that everything we wrote on that page, God did it. And God has done far more than we wrote down. So let me ask you, what's on your list? What's on your list for God to do for you? Don't say, oh, God, do something sometime. God's in heaven saying, I wish that guy had learned to pray.
I was raised to pray, as in ritual, like every night go down on your knees and say your prayers. And so all of my life I've done that. No matter what was going on, managed to at least hit one knee and say a prayer. But more importantly than that, years ago I also read something from Marianne Williamson that she wrote in Return to Love, where she said that she didn't just like having the act or the practice of prayer, but that she wanted to be in a constant state of prayer, always in a constant state of being on her knees. So that's how I feel about prayer, is to let your whole life be a prayer. Let your whole life be an expression of your connection to that power which is greater than ourselves, that those of us who know like to call God.
What is so the magnificence of that power, I think, is that you're put here on the planet. And what's fascinating, it really makes me want to weep when I think about the magnificence of the power of God, in that you're put here as a human being on the planet. God is always there, available to you. And all the years you spend searching for yourself and searching outside of yourself, God was always there. It's very much like whoever wrote The Wizard of Oz. I forgot for the moment who wrote it. It's like Dorothy and the red slippers. It's like what the good witch Glinda told Dorothy. You always had it all the time. And that's really what I think the voice of God is saying to people. You always had it, I'm always here. And when you find yourself in trouble, it's just that you have forgotten your way. You have forgotten. God doesn't change, the people do. You can get what you really are praying for if you are clear, if you have the clarity about what it is you want. Because I have found in my life that God is willing to work with you on the whole life deal, you know. So if you will pray for what you really want, you know, happiness in your family, you want a sense of peace and whatever, because the lottery can't give you that.
Don't forget to pray, but don't be ashamed to pray. And don't be too proud to pray. Because prayer changes things. The cool thing about prayer is the one thing that's available to everybody at any given time. Do you know that God ain't ever too busy for you? You know that God actually knows who you are? Do you know that God actually created you to converse with him? Do you know that God would actually love to hear from you? Do you know that I like talking to him even when I don't really need nothing? So when I do need something, I don't want to have to introduce myself to him. This is the level of my Christianity. Just get at the level you at. You ain't got to change. God work with you. God take hard people like me and turn them into Christians. God take soldiers like me and turn them into Christians. He take old hoodlums like me and turn them into Christians. He take drug boys and turn them into Christians. He take women off of poles and turn them into Christians. God take women who had children out of wedlock, turn them into Christians. God take anybody that want to be saved and he saved them. So just like old people used to say, I'm just a nobody.
You'll be amazed at miracles that will happen if you think big. Think of what God has created, and he has said, command ye me. Think about that. Psalms 37:4, delight yourselves in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. You need to put that on your refrigerator door. He's just waiting for you to ask, and to ask big. The greatest tragedy in life is the prayers that go unanswered simply because they were unasked. You have all of this power available to you. Ask, and you shall receive. Seek, and you shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. Why do you think God is offended by our prayers for the impossible? Why do you think that? It's not presumption. It is the faith enough to believe that he can do it. The truth is that God is offended by anything else. Mission Impossible is God's address. This church building started in 1966. The dream was this, but it started then. Here we are. God has answered prayer. The impossible has become reality.